I thought my snake plant was just a pretty decoration, turns out. I was totally blocking my wealth. At 38, my business was crashing and I was so stressed. One simple snake plant trick changed everything. Clients came rushing in, and my bank account finally smiled. This video gives you 3 dead easy snake plant hacks to pull in money fast stuff you can do in minutes. Hang out for 30 minutes to grab these Feng Shui tips your wallets. Gonna love you, don't skip this. She thought her entryway was fine. Nothing wrong with it. Neat, quiet, just wide enough to pass through. The floor was always clean. There was a soft rug-neutral beige, a slim mirror on the wall, and a small, polite plant in the corner that didn't seem to grow. It all looked good, but somehow it didn't feel like anything. Every time she walked in, there was this weird, momentary pause, like the space was waiting for something, or someone. She couldn't name it, but she felt it subtly, like air that moved but didn't land, like light that passed through but didn't stay. Some days, she'd sigh the moment she stepped in, not from stress, just from a kind of emptiness. A low hum of nothing really moved today. Her life wasn't falling apart, but little things kept slipping. Emails missed, clients ghosting, money flowing in then somehow, flowing right back out. She didn't connect it to the space. Of course not. It was just a doorway, just a transition zone. But one morning, a friend visiting asked, with almost childlike curiosity, "Hey, where's your energy guardian?" She laughed. "What? Like a security camera?" "No," they said gently. "Like a plant, or something that holds the energy in. Right now, it feels like it all just leaves." Funny how we care so much about what's inside. The pillows, the scent, the layout, but rarely stop to ask, what meets the energy the moment it arrives? Because sometimes, what's missing isn't furniture. It's a feeling, a quiet anchor, something that holds the flow in place. It's strange, isn't it? How a space can be clean, but still feel off. Like something's quietly slipping through, and you can't quite put your finger on it. She vacuumed. She kept it tidy. The lighting was soft. The air smelled of cedar and citrus. And yet, every time she stepped inside, there was this blankness, a kind of floating, not heavy, just ungrounded. And that's where Feng Shui shifts the lens. You see, in Feng Shui, the entryway isn't just an opening. It's the mouth of Qi. It's where the life force of your home takes its first breath. The moment the door opens, and what meets it there matters. If the space is too empty, too loose, too polite, the Qi doesn't know where to go. It hesitates, then turns around. That was her home. Energy came in, but never stayed. It passed through like wind in an empty hallway, brushing the surface, but never landing. And the truth is most people don't even notice it, because the leak is silent, slow, almost elegant, until one day you realize your opportunities aren't sticking. The good moments feel short. Money flows in and quietly flows back out. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because the space hasn't been asked to hold anything. That's where the snake plant comes in. It doesn't shout. It doesn't need much. But it stands tall, firm, focused. And in Feng Shui, that shape matters. A vertical plant with upright leaves creates a message of support, direction, and presence. It says, "This home is awake. This energy has a place to rest. And when energy feels that, it doesn't flee. It stays. It nourishes. It starts to grow. And once you notice it, you can't unsee it. That quiet emptiness. That feeling that something should be holding the space, but isn't." I remember someone who lived with that exact same pause every single day, until one tiny change shifted everything. She had one of those homes you'd stop and admire. Light wood floors, neutral tones beige, soft olive, a hint of terracotta, the kind of space where everything looked like it had been chosen with care. Because, well, it had. And yet, every time she walked in, it felt like the house wasn't holding anything. The air was still, not peaceful still, but quiet in that way where you almost want to whisper. The entryway was wide, clean, even a little elegant, but it also felt oddly unfinished. There was a narrow rug well placed, sure, a mirror hung with precision, a decorative tray where she left her keys. Everything looked right, but something in the space said, "Nothing really lives here." She once told me, "I keep setting goals. I try. I really do. But the moment things start moving, it's like they dissolve." At first, she thought it was her, that maybe she was procrastinating or distracted. But it wasn't that. It was the energy. It just didn't stay. Emails unanswered, promising collaborations that never circled back, payments delayed, and when money came in, it felt like it had already been spent. She didn't feel cursed, just foggy, like she was almost catching up, but never quite ahead. And the weirdest part? She couldn't name what was wrong. There was no clutter, no chaos, just a gentle kind of drift, a quiet leak she couldn't see, but felt almost every day. The space didn't welcome energy. It let it pass through. Her dog would sometimes sit by the front door, staring out, not barking, just waiting, like even he knew something was missing. And looking back now, it all seemed so clear. That entryway wasn't grounded. It wasn't anchored. It was beautifully's, but completely unguarded. One Saturday morning, quiet, slow, the kind where you wander the house in socks, she walked past her entryway and paused. For some reason, she noticed how bare it felt, like even the air didn't bother to move through that space anymore. She thought of something someone once told her. A home without a guardian is like a boat with no anchor. That line came back softly but firmly, and she realized she had a snake plant, a tall one, in fact tucked in the far corner of her bedroom, half forgotten, barely catching any light. So she picked it up, carefully, a little awkwardly, and carried it to the front. There, by the door, she placed it just to the right of the frame, near the rug, under the mirror, a spot she'd never really used before. And then, she stepped back, looked at it, felt it. She didn't light incense. She didn't say a mantra. She just stood there. And the weirdest thing happened. The space felt fuller, immediately. Not crowded, not decorated, just awake. The air shifted. Light came in differently. Even the dog, usually curled in the kitchen, wandered over and lay beside the plant, like it had always been there. She didn't think much of it that day. It was just a plant, right? But that week, 3 clients emailed back. An invoice that had been pending for 2 months was finally paid. And for the first time in a long time, she opened her door and felt like she was stepping into something, not just passing through it. Her words to me, quiet and a little amused, were, "I didn't know I needed a guardian, but now that it's there, I feel like I can breathe again." And maybe that's the quiet power of it all. Not the plant itself, but what it stands for. Because in so many cultures, some things aren't just decoration. They're guardians. They're symbols. They're the quiet boundary between chaos and flow. It's kind of amazing, isn't it? How a plant so quiet, so still, can carry so much meaning across cultures. Not because it blooms, not because it smells sweet, but because of how it stands. The snake plant doesn't sprawl. It doesn't reach. It doesn't droop. It rises. Tall, direct, focused. Its leaves shoot straight up like blades of soft green steel. Calm, but unshakable. In Feng Shui, that form matters deeply. This kind of upright, vertical shape creates strong yang energy. It tells the environment, there is clarity here, there is strength, there is protection. That's why this plant is often used in entryways, to guard the flow, to slow down rushing qi, to signal stability right at the threshold. And what's wild is, this isn't just a Feng Shui idea. It shows up in so many places. In West African spiritual traditions, the snake plant is believed to keep harmful spirits from crossing into a space. People place it near doors, windows, or beds, anywhere energy might feel vulnerable. In Brazil, they call it Espada de São Jorge, the sword of St. George. It's seen as a warrior plant, a defender, the first line of energetic protection in the home. And even in Filipino folk belief, you'll find it placed quietly by the front door, not because someone read it in a book, but because Grandma said, "Keep one there, it holds the house together." Isn't that beautiful? That's something so ordinary, so low maintenance, so quietly present, can carry the weight of guarding what matters most. And maybe that's the point. It doesn't need to bloom to be powerful. It doesn't need to be loud to be heard. It just needs to stand, steady, at the right place, at the right time. And the more you think about it, the more it makes sense. Not just spiritually, but biologically. The snake plant isn't loud, but it's steady. And in a world where everything moves too fast, that steadiness, it does something to us. Scientifically, this plant is one of the few that releases oxygen at night. Not just during the day. At night when things are still, when we're home, when we're trying to rest, trying to reset. It's like the plant keeps watch, even when we're not looking. That alone shifts the energy of a room. The air feels different, fuller, smoother, almost heavier in the best possible way. Like the space isn't drifting anymore, like it's breathing calmly. And emotionally, we feel it too. Having something upright, alive, and unmoving at your door creates a sense of containment, a quiet boundary. Our minds read it without needing to process it. We walk in and feel held, not because of magic, but because, deep down, we crave structure. Not rigid, not sharp, just something that stands. That's the effect of this plant. And when it's placed at the very threshold of your life, your doorway, it does something subtle, but powerful. It tells you, you're not alone here. It tells your energy, you've arrived, you can rest. And that small feeling of being held by a space might just be what keeps your money, your focus, your momentum from slipping out the door again. But as with anything in Feng Shui, it's not just what you place, it's where you place it. Because even the most powerful guardian, if placed in the wrong field, can lose its voice, or worse, create a clash it was never meant to carry. It's easy to think, if this plant brings in good energy, then it'll work anywhere, right? Not quite. In Feng Shui, energy isn't just about objects. It's about fields, spaces that carry their own frequency, their own behavior. And every home has zones, where the energy moves fast, where it gets pulled downward, or where it stagnates. She once placed her snake plant right outside the kitchen, thinking it would energize the heart of the home. But the area faced south, strong fire energy. The plant, being wood element, began to clash subtly with that fire zone. The result? She felt hot-headed, irritable, even restless, especially in the evenings. At first, she thought it was just the weather, or stress. But the moment she moved the plant away from that line, closer to the doorway where the qi enters gently, everything softened. There's also the case of placing it in the bathroom. Sure, it fits, looks great, thrives in humidity. But bathrooms are already energy leak zones, places where water exits, where energy pulls down, where privacy overrules visibility. Putting a plant meant to guard and anchor in a space designed for release and retreat confuses the energetic role. You might start to feel unmotivated, foggy, a little stuck. Not because the plant is wrong, but because its job in that spot is unclear. And that's the heart of Feng Shui. Intention plus alignment. You don't need a perfect plant. You need the right plant, in the right place, with the right purpose. So, maybe it's not about adding more, or moving faster. Maybe it's about realigning, quietly, gently, with what's already here. The light, the space, the flow that wants to move, if only we let it. So, if the energy in your home has been feeling off, not bad, just a little shaky, a little restless, the way you place your snake plant might be the quiet solution you've been overlooking. You don't need more stuff. You just need better alignment. Step 1. Come back to your entrance. Stand at your front door in the early morning, when the light is soft and the world hasn't fully woken up yet. Just pause. Feel the air. Notice where it flows naturally, and where it feels stuck or too still. That's not just airflow. That's your qi telling you something. Step 2. Gently place your snake plant to the side of the entry. Not in front of the door, never block the mouth of energy. Instead, imagine the plant as a calm, silent guardian. Place it slightly to the left or right, where it can catch the incoming qi like a breeze brushing through leaves. Let it slow that energy down. Hold it, anchor it, so it doesn't rush in and out like a storm. Step 3. Clean the space. Wipe the surface. Sweep the floor. Not because it's dirty, but because dust holds old energy, and you're making space for new things to arrive. Maybe light a candle, or just open the window for a minute. Let the air reset. Step 4. Whisper your request. Yes, whisper. There's something powerful in saying it softly. Just a sentence like, "Help me hold the good. Let this be a space of calm." of flow, of steady growth. Don't recite anything fancy. Say what feels true in your chest. Step 5. Come back the next morning. Stand next to the plant. Place your hand lightly on one leaf. Take 3 long, grounding breaths. Nothing dramatic, just presence. Let the plant know you're paying attention, because energy listens when we do. There's someone I used to work with. Quiet girl, soft-spoken, always wore earth-toned sweaters. Sweet energy, but tired. You could see it in her shoulders, always slightly slouched, like she was carrying something invisible. She told me once that her apartment never felt right. Not haunted or anything, just always off. Orders would get canceled. Emails left unanswered. Even cooking dinner felt like a chore, like something was stuck in the air. She'd bought a snake plant months ago. After reading it was good for Feng Shui, but she just placed it in a random corner. Never touched it. Never thought about it again. One day, I visited, and I saw it, still in its original nursery pot, dust on the leaves, tucked behind the couch like it didn't belong. I didn't say anything, just asked, "Have you ever moved this?" She paused, looked at it, then said, "No, I guess I forgot it was even there." That night, she cleaned the plant, wiped every leaf, repotted it, and the next morning, she placed it by the door. No candle, no incense, just intention. Weeks later, she got approved for a freelance project she'd applied to 3 times. Her mornings felt lighter. She stopped skipping breakfast. And one day she told me, "It's strange. I didn't change much. I just remembered to care." And maybe that's really the point of Feng Shui. It's not just where we place things, but whether we even notice them after. That little plant, it wasn't magic. It was a mirror, a way for her to notice again, to be in her space again. And maybe there's a plant near your door right now that's dry, forgotten, not even facing the light. Maybe it's been trying to hold the energy for you, but it's tired too. So what, if you just moved it a little? What if you wiped the dust, turned it toward the sun, and said quietly, "I'm ready to flow again." Pause. Let the air feel that. So now I'd love to hear from you. Tell me, what little corner of your home feels like it's been waiting for you? Maybe a space that's quiet, still, almost too still. Has something there been quietly asking for your attention? Drop a comment below. Let's bring light back to those forgotten spots together. And if you're ready to welcome more flow, say this softly to yourself right now. I honor the energy and stillness, and I welcome flow into my life again. Because sometimes, the smallest shift in attention opens the biggest flow.